My husband mocked my infertility for years, called me defective, laughed at my pain. What he didn't know? I had found out about the child he was hiding, the child he had with another woman. And when the truth hit that courtroom like a thunderclap, he lost everything, including me. If you've ever been disrespected, betrayed, or made to feel less than, stick around. This isn't just a story about revenge. It's about reclaiming power after years of pain. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more real, chilling stories, and let's dive in. When I stood at the altar and looked into Kevin's eyes, I believed I was marrying a man who would weather life's storms beside me. I believed in vows, especially the part about in sickness and in health. That's what love meant to me. Loyalty, endurance, compassion. We were together for 8 years, and for half of that time, my body became a battlefield. I wanted a child more than anything. Not because I thought it would fix our marriage or make me whole, but because I already felt whole, and I wanted to share that love with someone new. But my body had other plans. Month after month, hope turned to devastation. My period became a funeral. Each negative pregnancy test felt like a silent accusation, like my own biology was turning on me. Still, I endured. Hormone shots that made me moody and bloated. Surgeries that left me curled in pain. Procedures so invasive, I felt more like a patient than a person. But I kept going because Kevin said he'd be by my side. It was the little things. A sigh when I mentioned another appointment. A joke to his friends that made my skin crawl. You know, maybe the oven's broken. I laughed awkwardly, hoping it was just stress talking. But it wasn't stress. It was contempt. One night, I walked through our front door after a particularly brutal IVF failure. I was exhausted, numb, hollow. Kevin sat on the couch, beer in hand, half watching football. He didn't even turn to face me. You know, he said without emotion, maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe some women just aren't meant to be mothers. I stood there frozen. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my chest. My hands trembled. What? I whispered. He shrugged, like he just commented on the weather. I'm just saying, maybe nature has its reasons. It was the little things. A sigh when I mentioned another appointment. A joke to his friends that made my skin crawl. You know, maybe the oven's broken. I laughed, awkwardly, hoping it was just stress talking. But it wasn't stress. It was contempt. One night, I walked through our front door after a particularly brutal IVF failure. I was exhausted, numb, hollow. Kevin sat on the couch, beer in hand, half watching football. He didn't even turn to face me. You know, he said without emotion, maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe some women just aren't meant to be mothers. I stood there frozen. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my... The cruelty wasn't accidental anymore. It became routine. At dinner with his family, he'd smirk and say things like, "Guess I married defective stock." And his mother, God help me, she laughed. I'd excuse myself and cry in the bathroom while they ate dessert. I started questioning my worth. Was I really broken? Was I dragging him down? Was this my fault? But deep down, a small voice kept whispering, "No, this isn't love, and this isn't your fault." One afternoon, I was organizing the office, just trying to feel useful, when I found a stack of envelopes tucked under some old tax forms. They looked out of place, hidden. They were from someone named Elena. The handwriting was soft, familiar, intimate. My gut clenched. I opened the top envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a photo of a boy, a beautiful little boy with Kevin's exact eyes. The letter read, "Kevin, he asked about you again. I can't keep lying to him forever. He deserves to know who his father is." My vision blurred. My ears rang. I couldn't breathe. There were more letters, more photos, drawings, birthday cards. One even had money folded inside. Kevin had a child, a 5-year-old child. He had been a father this entire time. And while I was drowning in hormones and hospital bills, while I was calling myself a failure, he was playing daddy in secret. That night, I confronted him the second he walked in the door. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "Who is he, Kevin?" I asked, holding up the photo. "Who is your son?" He looked at me like I'd slapped him. Then he got angry. Not guilty, angry. "You went through my things," he barked. "You had no right." "No right?" I laughed, the sound bitter and broken. "I'm your wife. You've been hiding a child from me for 5 years. That's when he sneered. Not ashamed. Not sorry. "Well, at least she could give me a kid. Something you never could." Those words didn't just hurt. They obliterated me. I stood there shattered into 1,000 pieces, and for a moment, I almost collapsed. But then, something inside me shifted. I hired the best divorce lawyer I could find. I handed her the letters. She read them in silence. Then she looked up and said, "Oh, we're not just filing for divorce. We're going to war." Kevin thought he'd humiliated me. He had no idea what humiliation looked like. Kevin strutted into the courtroom like he was walking into a barbecue, smug, overconfident, reeking of self-righteousness. His mother sat behind him, all pearls and judgment. My lawyer laid it all out. Photos, letters, proof of paternity, bank records. Kevin's face drained of color. His attorney began sweating. His mother gasped so loud, the room paused. Kevin tried to deflect. "I was just helping a friend." The judge cut him off. "Mr. Wilson, are you denying this child is yours?" Silence. Kevin swallowed. "No, he's mine." I stood, looked him straight in the eye. My voice didn't shake. "You mocked me for being infertile," I said. "You humiliated me. You were never man enough to be honest. Now everyone knows who you really are." The judge ruled in my favor. I got the house, alimony, and in the most poetic twist, he was ordered to pay child support for the son he'd tried to keep in the shadows. As I walked out of the courthouse, the sun hit my face, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel hollow. I felt light. Kevin looked like a ghost, pale, broken, exposed. And me? I was finally free. He tried to crush me with shame. Instead, he buried himself in it. Sometimes the people who claim to love us are the very ones who weaponize our pain. But the truth always finds a way out. And when it does, it doesn't whisper, it roars. I didn't need a child to feel whole. I just needed to remember who I was. If this story hit you in the gut like it did me, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more real, raw stories where justice always finds its voice.